HTML, we will understand how we can use HTML for creating web pages from scratch. So I'm going to use Visual Studio Code for implementing our code. So that's an editor. Let me show you how you can download that. You can go to Google Chrome browser or any of the browser that you wish and type Visual Studio Code, and then go to Visual Studio Code, click on the first link, and based on the type of operating system that you are in, you can download it accordingly. And the installation is pretty much simple. You just need to click on next until you get finished. So once you download and install, then you will get an icon, the Visual Studio Code icon. This is the icon that you're going to get, and you can directly go and search for it. Either it could be Mac or Windows. You can simply go ahead and search for Visual Studio Code. Right now I'm searching for Visual Studio Code over here, and this is what Visual Studio Code is. So we'll discuss more about what is the importance of Visual Studio Code and why do we really need it. So as part of this particular video, I'm going to create a folder with the name HTML, and we will use this folder for creating our HTML pages. So let me go ahead to our Visual Studio Code, just close this and go to File and Open Folder, and then you can select the folder that you're looking for. I'm looking for a folder called HTML because this is like the place where I'm going to write my HTML code. Okay, great. So for your understanding, what I'll do is I'll prepare a simple notes, and this notes I'm going to provide you as part of this video. So first let's understand what is HTML. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. So for your reference, I'm writing this notes so that it would be easy for you to refer this later point of time. Okay, now what is the use of HTML? What we can develop using HTML? So using HTML, we can develop static web pages. And where the static web pages can be used? So we can use the static web pages in a web application. So take an example of Facebook. Let me take you to Facebook. Now in Facebook, you see this home page that you see over here. This particular page is developed using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. The skeleton of the page is created using HTML. So how we can confirm whether it is created using HTML or not? So by default, any kind of web application that you have across the globe, all the web applications are developed using HTML itself. I mean, the base for it will be HTML. So without HTML, you cannot create a static web page or simply a web page. Okay, now why do we need to actually rely on HTML? Is there any alternative for it? So there are no alternatives for HTML. If you want to develop a web page or a web application, you should get started with HTML. Okay, let's go ahead and try understanding more details about HTML. To understand this, first let us understand what is markup language. So what exactly markup language is? Language where the data or any useful information represented, a language where the data or any useful information represented in tag format. Okay, a language where the data or any useful information is represented in tag format. Generally we call it as markup language. So what is a tag? A tag is nothing but a keyword that is enclosed in angular brackets. That's what we call it as a tag. So what's an angular bracket? So here this less than and greater than symbol, you can call them as angular brackets, and within this the keyword that you write. So HTML could be a tag, head could be a tag, Okay, similar way you can have body could be another tag. Like this, you can have any kind of tag that you would like to use, you can have them like this, so on. And every, okay, let me put it here, every tag, every opening tag should have a closing tag. Okay, every opening tag should have a closing tag. For example, I open HTML, then you should have a closing tag for it. Okay, the similar way, I opened H1 tag, you should have a closing tag for it. So like this, for every opening tag, you should have a closing tag. And there are some tags where you don't need to have a closing tag. In future, we will discuss what kind of tags that does not require a closing tag. So simply, HTML means it is basically a markup language which will help us in creating web pages, and those web pages are basically static web pages. So what is static web page? A web page where the content will always remain static based on the UI, based on the user interaction. Though the user is interacting with that web page, always the content remains static. That's what a static web page is. Okay, so how do we create HTML web pages? So first we need to understand any page consists of header, body, and footer. Any page that you talk, okay, that could be a page in Word, okay, or that could be a page which is of PDF format. Any kind of page consists of header, body, and footer. So while we are creating our static web pages using HTML, we are going to follow the same format. So we're going to have a header, body, and a footer. So anything that you want to do in HTML, we will do it in the form of tags. So learning HTML is all about learning different tags, and these tags are pretty much simple to use. It's just that you need to spend some time to understand them and use them effectively. So throughout this particular video, I'm going to do a lot of hands-on to make you understand each and every concept in simple words. So first, let us create our first web page. So I'm going to create a folder here, and I'm going to call that folder to be e-commerce. So which means we will create an e-commerce application by the end of this particular tutorial. So not this video, but the whole tutorial, because we are going to work on mean stack throughout this particular course. So through mean stack, I mean starting from HTML, we will learn and we will build this e-commerce application. So I'm going to create our first HTML page, which is index.html. So you can name it with anything, but make sure that you have an extension called .html. Okay, now how do we go and write the code? The first thing, as I've told you, make sure that every HTML page that you have, it contains only tags. So let me go and write the tag. So the page starts with a tag called HTML tag. This is the main tag that we need to use. As part of this HTML tag, we're gonna have the head section and then the body section. So in the body section, you're going to write the actual content that need to be displayed on the browser. Now, if you see this particular page has got some images, some buttons, it has got a form. Now all of this is your HTML, and this is written inside the body. So let's go ahead and write some code inside the body. Again, you are going to write HTML tags itself. So HTML provides us few tags related to heading, which ranges from H1 to H6. So I'm going to use H1 tag. This is to represent the header. So I would say e-commerce application. Okay. So here I'm using autosave so that every time whenever I write the code, it will automatically get saved. Now the next thing is, I'll just right click on this. Now how do we run our web page? To run our web page, you ideally need to go to the place where this web page is available. This is the place where my web page is available, and as part of this web page, just right click on this and open with whichever the browser that you want. So I want to open this with Chrome browser. I click on this and you see in the body we got e-commerce application. Now, what is the speciality of this H1? So we need to understand that when it comes to the web page, it is rendered on the screen, ideally through a browser, and we are going to measure this particular screen by using pixels. So in the similar way, the H1, how do we measure the size of the H1 basically? Whatever the content that you write in the H1, how are we going to measure it? So we are going to measure that in pixels. Okay. So how do we measure that? Just right click on it, go to inspect. So once you click on inspect, basically your browser provides you something called as developer tools. Using this developer tools, as a developer, we are going to use some of the capabilities that are provided by the browser while we develop the application. So go to inspect, and then you observe over here, this is the code that we have written, and this is the output of that. Okay. Now, what I would like to show you over here is, if you see this content here, just select this inspector. This is called as inspector. Click on this inspector and go to the place where you want to inspect it. So what this inspection will give you, it will give you the details of it. Okay. Now the details over here are, this is a H1 which has got a width and height of 582 into 37, and it has got a color, black color is what it is by default, and it has got a font size over here which is 32 pixels. So the size, the font size of this particular H1 over here is 32 pixels, and by default it has got a font family called Times New Roman. Okay, so that's how we can get to know the information about it. Now let's say you don't want this bigger size, you want to have a smaller size, then you can go to H2. Then you want more smaller one, then you can go to H3. Like that, you can go from H1 to H6. So a simple task for you, you can check that later. So find the sizes of H2 to H6. Like simply what you can do is, you go back to your H1 and then here change it to H2, here and as well as here. Then figure out like what is the size of or the font size of H2, H3, H4, H5 and H6. Based on that, whenever you have a requirement, you can use it accordingly. So now we have got the header. Then the next thing is, every web page, if you open any web page, let's open this Facebook. Now you see we have got an icon over here, and along with the icon you also have got some text here. This is called as title. So for every web page you should have a title. Along with the title you should have an icon. Okay, this icon is called as fav icon. Okay, this icon is called as fav icon. So let us add an icon as well as the title. Now one more important thing that I want to do is, so whenever I do some edits over here, obviously what happens is your browser will not automatically go and refresh this page, but my requirement is the browser need to refresh this page every time whenever I do a change, because I don't want to refresh my page every now and then. So that's why, right, what we can do is we can run this particular web page on a server. Now from where are we going to get the server? So the Visual Studio Code provides us a server. So from where you can go and basically install, I mean, we have got something called as extensions as part of your Visual Studio Code. By the way, Visual Studio Code is free. Hence, you can download it. At the same time, whatever the extensions that are available, even these extensions, you can use them for free. Okay. Now, I've already installed this live server. So what you guys can do is, you can go to the search extensions and type live server. Okay. So you'll get this. Okay. So Ritvik Day, this particular live server is what I want you guys to install. I've already installed it. Okay. This guy is the author for it. You can just go and install this, and once you install, you close this particular Visual Studio Code and reopen it, so that you'll be able to see an option of live server. Okay. So let me go back. I'll right click on this. Now here you see open to the site. Okay, we should be getting an option here called open with the live server. Okay, so let me see why we are not getting it. So let's go to extension, live server, enable this for this workspace. Yeah, trust folder and continue. So I enabled it. Now right click on this, You see, now you are able to see that live server. So you guys should be enabled for that respective folder. Okay, great. Let's open this with live server. So it will automatically open the web browser now. Previously it was running from your local machine without server. That's why you see the path over here. But now you see a path where your application is running on a server on the port number 5500. Okay, this is the default port that was taken by your live server. Okay, now you see the magic. I'm gonna go and add the title. So right now you see the title of the page is nothing but the URL of your web page, right? But that is not what I want. I want a different title here. So let's call this title to be. Now in the head section, you can go and add the title. Okay, so in this title, I'll just go and add application. Let's say shop on this website for great deals. This is my title of the page. Okay, now I'm not saving this anyways because I've already enabled autosave here. Okay, that's one thing. The other thing is, when it comes to this title, as I've updated it, since we are running this page on the live server, it will automatically gets updated on the UI. So we can go back and check it. So let me go back there. You see the title got changed now. Okay, let me close this. Does not require anymore. And you see the title got changed. Okay, now the similar way, what I'm gonna do over here is I'll go back and I would like to have that favicon. So let us download some image. So let's say e-commerce images. So these images I would like to give it as an icon. So e-commerce image icon. Okay, you can take any of it, your wish. Okay, based on your requirement. I'll go to images, free images. Okay, maybe I'll take this icon or any of the icon that you want. Okay, just right click on this, save images. You can save that image. So I'm going to save this image to be favicon. You can name it anything, and I want it to be saved into the desktop. Then probably I'll move that from my desktop to this folder that we have created. Okay, to the HTML folder. And okay, let me change this. Okay, let's get into this e-commerce folder. Right now it is an e-commerce folder. Let's check it out. Here it is. I want to change this to a different format. Let's change it to PNG. Okay, great. Now the next step here is, let us go and add that favicon. So for that we need to use link tag, link, relation, icon. So here this is called as tag. These are called as attributes. So every HTML element, now whatever the tag that you're creating, since it is associated with HTML, we call it as an element. So every HTML element will have attributes. Okay, an attribute is nothing but a key value pair which will enable or which will enhance the capability of a HTML element. So link relation equals to icon, and then here we have to specify type. It's an image. Okay, image slash PNG, and we have to specify where it is available. So href, it is available in the same folder. So directly I'll say favicon.png. Now let's see if it is going to display. And here you see we got the favicon. Okay, you should be able to see it, the favicon of the page. It looks very small. You can take an appropriate image based on your requirement so that it looks better. Okay, right now I'm not concerned about the icons over here. So whichever the icon, whichever the image that we want, you can use it. Okay, all right. So at this moment we understood what exactly HTML is and how do we create a web page, and as part of the web page we need to have the header and as well as the body. Whatever the content that you want to display on the web page, that content should go as part of the body. And if you want to create any web page, make sure you should have a title for it, and on top of it you should also have, along with the title, you should also have the favicon. That is a standard that every web page follows.
This video is sponsored by Vensa Digital.
If you want to learn more real-time stuff, then you can reach out to them. If you have come till here, then that means you like my video tutorial. So please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.